I got to a space where I definitely feel like it was divine, but God made me rest. And I was like, am I being punished, Lord? Like, what is this?
Yes.
And it really took God, like, no, like, I'm teaching you to rest for you, for your longevity. Mm-hmm. Like, so really even understanding how to rest as self-care,
yes,
to be able to get your mind right, to be able to get your spirit right, to be able to take care of me, because you cannot pour from an empty cup.
You sure can't.
Sun-kissed skin, hues of gold and black, bronze, brown, caramel to cream. My melanin determining the intricate details of my overall theme. Coils resilient and bold from roots of Afro-textured, natural and wavy mane. An expression of my uniquely individual style. And it's a black thing. Cocoa butter saturated, sealed with moisture. Hydrating my melanin to rich skin. A gift from my ancestors. My family. My kin. Welcome to the Coils and Cocoa Butter Podcast. Hey y'all, welcome to the Coils and Cocoa Butter Podcast. I'm your host Jazz, and today we are being joined by Dewana Duncan, CEO of Empowering You Coaching. Welcome, Dewana.
Hey everyone.
Today we're going to jump into talking about self-care and boundary setting as a healthy self-care strategy.
Yes.
So, like, what is self-care? Like, because I know it seemed like in recent, like, in the last couple of years, everybody talks about self-care. So, like, what is self-care?
Self-care is basically learning how to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually without a doctor's order or medication. So the best way to grasp self-care is, what are you doing for you?
Self-care, like, basically caters to your mind, your body, and your soul. So I would imagine like that is important holistically, like mentally.
Yes.
Like when you feel overwhelmed, like you said, you just do too much and then you take on other people's roles.
Yes.
Like what other reasons do you think self-care is important?
It's important because it increases self-awareness and truly who you are. It gives you the space to dive into things you enjoy for you. Like, it's not like you're doing things because your family asked you to or your mother asked you to. It's like you're doing this solely because it brings a fulfillment to yourself.
That's a good point. Like, I feel like for me, I feel like for a lot of women too, like, you kind of walk around with this I got it, mentality, like, don't worry, I can figure it out, I'm gonna do it. And I've always prided myself in being able to take on a lot. But I got to a space where I definitely feel like it was divine, but God made me rest. And I was like, am I being punished, Lord? Like, what is this?
Yes.
And it really took God, like, no, like, I'm teaching you to rest for you, for your longevity. Mm-hmm. Like, so really even understanding how to rest as self-care,
yes,
to be able to get your mind right, to be able to get your spirit right, to be able to take care of me, because you cannot pour from an empty cup.
You sure can't.
But I think a lot of times we do, especially as women and especially as mothers.
Yes.
Like,
constantly giving, and you like, nobody's seeing when you're crying, nobody's seeing when you're reaching, because you're told in your mind, you like, I can't be the weak one because I gotta be the strong one all the time, because people need me. That's for your kids. You like, no, they need me to be strong. No, your kids need you to be you. Mm-hmm. They don't need you to be strong, because strong ain't gonna help them grow into loving individuals that learn their self-care and learn their boundaries too. They're going to learn how to be just like you, overworking, overdoing things. So if you want to teach healthy balanced adults, you have to first become that healthy balanced adult.
Absolutely. You got to model it, like the not living to do as I say, not as I do, and actually model it, because that's how people learn. That's how kids learn. They going to do what they see you do.
Exactly. So many adults don't.
Yep.
Kids do what they see, not what you say. They what they see is going to pull in more than what you're saying. But yeah, it's very important to really take that time out for yourself and learn who you are and learn how to take a nap, take a rest, and not feel like not tie your worth to what you're doing. Your worth should never be tied to how much you get done in a day. That's not how worthy you are. You are worthy how you feel about yourself. So it should never be tied to, oh, I got cleaning done, this done, and I filled out the application. You should never tie your worth there, because the days that you can do all that, you don't want to feel low because you didn't get nothing done. That's all. If you got some sleep in, that's great. That's what your self-care needed that day. So learning that your self-care is not tied to how much things you get done, what you're capable of. It's all just tied into who you are truly. Right?
So maybe like in that process, you kind of redefine what a successful day looks like. Like it don't have to be me checking all of these boxes. Maybe my success is that I just left it.
Yes. Yes.
I watched me a movie.
Yes. You actually took the time. You watched the movie quietly without being interrupted. That could be a check on the thing too.
Absolutely.
Or I have learned that I may have 5 things on the list, but if I got 2 of them done, woo, great. I can move them to the next day. Or I do this thing where Mondays is my scheduling day. Like I keep Mondays as a day for me to schedule appointments and call around, because I don't want to have to do house every morning that I'm coming off work and stuff. So I usually like Mondays to get everything, most of it done. If I don't, it goes to the following Monday. As long as there's no time stamp on anything, I'm not hurting anyone taking the time.
That's good. I think that kind of some of the things that we mentioned as self-care strategies that you take, that I take, is like some of the myths associated with self-care. Because I think a lot of people think self-care has to be going to get your nails done. It has to be going to fly to Miami. And while those are excellent
self-care
activities, like it has to be built into your normal routine. You can't always
be able to fly to Miami or get your nails done or get your hair done. But definitely you want to do things daily that make it consistent, easy for you to practice self-care versus things that's you won't see till a week or month long out.
Right. Because you could be having like a mental break, like I'm about to go crazy, and you waiting until your Miami trip that's scheduled for 2 months out, and so what, you not gonna get any self-care until the end?
Yeah, and I have seen women like that, like, I just can't wait till we go, and I'm like, what you doing before that? Like, let's go have a drink, let's go do this, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there so that you're not still carrying that on you when you come to Miami, because it's not going to go away.
Absolutely. So you got to set the tone now, like, and build it into your everyday life. So to me, like, something that is so small, but it's so big in terms of, like, just getting my balance and shifting from the work mindset to the home mindset, and just taking a minute. Sometimes when I just get off work, like, I just sit in the car and silence the car off. I don't tell nobody I'm home yet. Sitting in the driveway, just taking a minute for myself. And that might be 5 minutes, that might be 10 minutes. Sometimes I'm on Facebook just texting or whatever, like, just to take a minute for myself. So that's self-care too.
Yeah, just a few minutes. Or you can do deep breathing. Is another technique. You practice 5 minutes of deep breathing. Breathing from your stomach in and outward through your nose or mouth. You do 5 minutes of that, 10 minutes of that, whatever kind of sets you and mellows you in from switching gears, because you coming from work where you deal with other people's concerns and issues, then you move into home where you're dealing with your home life. So to switch gears and to prep yourself for the dinner and all that stuff and all the things that goes on to prep for the next day. Take those 5 minutes in the car, like she said, or tell your kids you shut your door for 5 minutes to sit in your room and not be bothered. Teach your kids those boundaries so they learn, like, oh, mom door is shut. That means she's having some time to herself. You can teach your kids how to respect you at the same time, and you also respecting them, because when they learn, oh, okay, she can take time, I can also learn how to take that time too. So, don't look at it as shut doors as disrespect. Look at a shut door as maybe somebody needs some time to themselves. You can always knock and check in, or you say, hey, I'll be out in a minute, but give yourself that time, whatever it is. Or taking I tell people sometimes taking them hot bubble baths or hot showers, light a candle. Candles is how you sit in the car. What I do when I need some bring me back to my centering space, I light candles in the house, and that lets me kind of dive into the moment of relaxing and stuff, and get my relaxation started. So I may start a candle while I'm cooking, but as I finish cooking and straightening up and take me a bath, then my candle was in my room for me to actually lay down and relax, and really works miracles for me.
I think it's important to have like a toolbox full of self-care strategies. Like I always tell my clients, like sometimes one thing that is your go-to might not work every time. And I think COVID like really put us in a space where we had to really challenge ourselves, where a lot of the things that we use as self-care or for our health, mind, body, and soul were closed. So that challenged us to kind of be creative. Like, you
got to bring the coffee shop in the house, or the workout how to be in your house, which I've seen that a lot. Some people transform their garage into their workout fitness area. You had to get really, like you said, creative into creating that. You made your art room somewhere else or whatever. So you have to really become creative, and also, creative with your kids at the same time, because you got to things that they were usually doing outside, you had to bring inside. You had to be creative with those things. So, me and my children, we kept movie night, but we also had like a game night, so to help get off some of those running energy. And sometimes we just play hide go seek in the house. So run around just to get some of that energy out. Yeah. And then also, I allow my kids to go outside in the yard. Free air.
Right.
So
you ain't got to worry about nobody within 6 feet. Y'all be all right.
Yes, exactly. So, just those things is learning, really COVID showed us both a way of learning how to be creative, but also learning the benefit and health of family supports, your family support system, how important it is. Because people that couldn't see their family really had to learn how to use Facebook and other apps to socialize and communicate, but still engage with each other. Because humans, we work off engagement, human touch. So it was very important to learn those different skills. Zoom is another app that I think a lot of people use too. I think like Uno, Zoom, and different types of games that I would never connect for Zoom. You would never think of those things, but like I said, it definitely brought out people's creativity, create that self-care and that self-intimacy moments with family and friends.
Yeah, and like you said, that is super important. Like, our bodies thrive on connection.
Yeah.
So I think that that's another thing that's important in terms of us taking self-care as women, is being okay having that village. You know, we talk about having a village for our kids,
but we don't talk about for ourselves.
That part. So, that is so important. And having those people that can hold you accountable, that can say, like, Duana, what's up? Because you are not yourself right now. You need me to get the kids for a night. And then being able to actually get to those points where we can receive that, like, I need a moment.
Yes. Not just going on Facebook and say I need a break. Actually taking in when people offer a break. I teach my clients that too. Like, when people are offering help, actually see how good their word is. You can't know if you could trust the person until you, hey, okay, she offered, let me contact her. And if she say, yeah, I'm free, available, then that's a person you could actually have in your back pocket in situation, because they're there for you. I say, because sometimes people respond off of just normal human response, like, oh, I'm here for you, but they're not really here, so you have to know which people are really authentically there for you and really wants to help and be there for you in your time of need, in your time of crisis, because them are the people that when you're in crisis, you need them on downtown, like, boom, okay, I know I can call her, she'll pick up the kids. I know I can call my other friend, she'll bring me something to eat. Those are the people that you need to embrace during your downtimes, because we all have them. We all have moments where we're not feeling ourselves or we're going through hard times. Definitely with COVID, it was a lot of loss. You need people that's really there for you, like that's really want to be in your corner.
Yeah, and I feel like just giving ourselves permission to take off the cape,
Yes.
I feel like
you don't have to be Superwoman.
You don't have to. Like, that might be a beautiful characteristics as a woman that you just can balance it, but sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not feel like I don't feel like y'all don't.
Yeah, I
need
don't
a minute.
Do that.
Right.
And it's okay to tell people, because sometimes in this world where we live under how men dictate how women are, we are told that we have to be a certain way to be a woman, and that's not the case. Whatever woman you truly feel you identify with, that's who you are. If you don't, not a woman that like to cook, that don't mean you less of a woman.
Hello, speaking my language.
If you're a woman that don't want kids, that don't mean you're less of a woman.
Say that.
You're a woman that don't want to be married, that don't mean you less of a woman. That does not identify you. But because we live in this world where so many things have define us as women, we sometimes get depressed or lowball of who we are, because we're trying to meet these categories, these standards,
right.
And we like, I don't fit that standard. So what does that mean? You make your own standard. You know, you set the bar for yourself. You don't set the bar where everybody else telling you set the bar. Oh, you married, boom, now you gotta have kids. Oh, now you need to get a house. That may not be the life you want to live for yourself. So,
and I think it takes that process of introspection and quiet time with yourself, and sitting with yourself and sitting with God to really define that for yourself. Because I feel like, especially in this generation, we hustle and bustle, we social media, we action, but we don't take time to slow down. So that's why I said, like, that was vital for me that God sat me down, like, because I didn't even know. Sometimes you don't even know what you're lacking until you take a minute for yourself and define that, because you might just be living somebody else's truth. And then you wonder,
I was like, that ain't even the type of woman, that's not even me.
So some of that resentment and anger could build up in even doing that. So it's so important that you do that. So now that we kind of talked about self-care, doesn't have to be something that you pay for, and self-care is not selfish. Like, I think that's another myth. So boundary setting is what you specifically wanted to talk about in terms of a self-care strategy. And it might be something that we don't even think about as self-care.
Yes.
So, what can you explain what boundary setting is?
It's basically like learning, setting boundaries in your... But basically setting boundaries in, your day-to-day movement, as far as, your work area, your space, your personal space, your work area, your home life. Learning how to set boundaries as to what you allow people to be exposed to and what you don't allow people to be exposed to when it comes to yourself. So being available or not being available to people, that's basically setting a boundary. Learning those things and being capable of doing that. And it's really that's basically rules and guidelines that you set for yourself. That you create to identify with yourself, to make you feel safe, to make you feel balanced and protected, so that you don't feel overwhelmed or your anxiety doesn't skyrocket because you just don't know where you at as far as boundary setting. Some people really don't know their boundaries, and so when people walk over them, they don't even recognize it until someone else points it out. Someone comes to your home unannounced. That could be a boundary setting for you. You need to let me know you're coming to my house before you decide to come over, because that's not respecting me as my boundary. So just people learning those things, you can set the tone for what you want people to respect on your level for setting boundaries. So make sure that they're not crossing that feel disrespectful to you. It may be respectful for them. Somebody else may say, I have an open door, you come over anytime, where you may be a person I don't have an open door. You need to let me know, because I have days when I don't want people. I have days that I'm in my space, you're enjoying your own self, and you don't want people invading that. So people need to let you know when they plan on coming over, and if that's a good day for you. So you may need to schedule family or friends popping up and coming over. Where someone else, that's nothing. They love when that doesn't throw them off. No.
So pretty much boundaries are setting rules and guidelines of acceptable behavior for yourself. And you said like those things could change based on the individual. Like just because one person has a certain rule don't mean you can do it too. Yes. You know. It can help you define what you are and what you are not comfortable with in relationships, and that doesn't have to just be like romantic relationship. Yes, that can be friendship. Yes. That can be mother and daughter. Yes. That can even be with your kids. Yes. Yes. And it is a means of personal self-care, and while we tying it into a self-care strategy that maybe people don't even think about. Yes. Because it helps you like balance yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and kind of get that, that peace that you need. That you need, yes. Yeah, and having self-care. And it is also, helping you recognize and communicating your needs, which I think is a big piece of self-care. Yes, and that's what I tell people, like, the only way people can know when they're doing wrong or offending is telling them. Right. If you're not communicating your needs and your balance that you need from other people, they don't know necessarily, because what's good for them is necessarily, like you said, not good for you. So they may not know that that's offensive every time you tell them, call them girl, or hey you, things that may provoke you, and they not even knowing that they're provoking you or they're triggering you at all, because no one knows everyone's trauma and things that they've been through. So sometimes it's important for you to say, to communicate and say, hey, I don't really like when you say this to me. You don't even have to give a reason. Just say, hey, I don't like it. And the person should respectfully stop doing it at that point. They should say, oh, what, I respect and love her enough. I'm not going to do that to her anymore. Or, vice versa. I think that's an important piece. Like not assuming people are gonna know. Like for some stuff, you think like culturally you should know not to do that, but some people was raised different. So like I give you for certain stuff, like okay, I'm gonna tell you, but then after that, yes. And it's funny you said that, because I just had to go over some of those things with my daughter, because she was like, I have some cousins that their behavior is not the best. I just don't like, because I think they know right from wrong. I said, that's not true. I said, because their right can be your wrong. You never know how people are raised. Like, some houses, then having drugs and guns around is their right. That's okay. That's their norm. So that may be your wrong, but that's not necessarily their wrong. So I said, sometimes you have to learn what's their wrong and rights, and learn, you can help fix that, help them see the different way. But until you understand it, you're not, because you're judging them from afar instead of leaning in and trying to understand why they think that's okay. They may think it's okay to say the N word, call you the B word, and all those, different things, because in their world, everybody does that. But they come over your world, you like, no, we don't do that over here. We call each other by names, or we kings and queens over here. And so you have to reteach their their mindset, and to say, no, that's not how we do it. And have to also in those spaces be okay with letting some people go if they can't respect your boundaries, and how you live your day to day for your mental and physical health, and that is a really tough boundary that you can have to set. Yes, and it's hard. It's hard. It's definitely hard with people that you have come to grow up and love, and you looked at them as a person of respect, and you realize the respect level is not coming back, and sometimes letting that relationship go is very hard, and sometimes we can get into a cycle of enablement where we're constantly telling ourselves, oh, this person's not good for me, but we're constantly putting that person back in our circle. So you have to choose. So it's going to be hard either way, but you want the heart of constantly having a battle with a person that's constantly jumping in and not respecting your boundaries, or constantly saying, hey, this person, I can only take so much of them right here, and that's where they have to stay. And, making that decision, because if you're enabling that person, you can't complain about a person you constantly able to come back in your life, do those same things, and they have not showed you different.
Now, if they not showed you that they're gonna respect your boundaries at all, and you're constantly inviting them to your home, you know what they're gonna do.
All right, it don't even have to be a physical location. Inviting them to your space, to your heart, to your mind,
your conversations.
Like, some stuff I just gotta cut off. Like I'm not opposed to telling somebody I don't receive that. Like that's a personal boundary for me because I speak life into myself, and obviously I'm human. I have times when I'm just not in that positive energy, but like I'm not speaking death on myself. I'm not speaking I can't. I'm not, and you're not gonna speak that over my child. So I had a friend who didn't mean anything bad, like somebody who loved me, who I love, who was like, oh well, you know, you can't do this or can't do that. I said, oh, I don't receive that, you know. So just a natural thing for me to say, like I don't receive that into my space, into my psyche, into my mental, like. I'm just not. So that's setting a boundary. So maybe like some people struggle. Like you hear what the healthy boundaries look like when you are living authentically, when you can say no, when you can set time for yourself. But maybe you're somebody that is still a little bit struggling with, you know, with boundary setting. So we're going to kind of go over some of the boundary types and talk about it a little bit so you can kind of maybe see where you are, maybe areas where you are still struggling.
Right. And you probably can look and say, hey, I'm here, but I want to get here.
Right.
And work to, find yourself to those other areas of personal boundaries that you would like to be more of versus less of.
Right. So the literature, you might find like different language for the different type of boundaries, but it's pretty much all the same. So you might see soft or porous boundaries, those are boundaries that have no clear control over behavior, or who gets close to you. You just kind of are an open door. You let people come on in. Maybe people that overshare information, personal information, have that difficulty saying no, which is what we said. Like, so even in your heart, you want to say no, you really don't want to do it. Somebody didn't ask you, but you do it anyway. Like that people pleasing type of vibe. Accepting of abuse or disrespect. Fear rejection if they do not comply. So maybe like those are some of the people who are fearful of like, if I say no, is this person still gonna be in my space? Is this person gonna be mad at me? You know.
And just that fear alone of being person being mad or not want to be in your friend or whatever, you would say yes, and even though you deep down want to say no, because something's telling you that it's not really always realistic what we think, and sometimes it's the stories we tell ourselves.
Absolutely.
That hey, this person not, and that's not realistic. So you telling yourself that story. And decided, I gotta tell them yes because they're gonna say this and that, and they gonna feel this way, or they may go tell my business. You got all these stories that come over, and it's like it can be far from that, you know. And if it is, deal with it when it get there. But you still have the right to say no.
Absolutely. And I think in some of these relationships that we think about, like what ifs, if I say no or if I start setting boundaries, because we talk about the the benefits of setting healthy boundaries, but like it comes with some negatives too. Yeah. If you are somebody who is always a yes man or yes woman, and then you start saying no to people that you historically always say yes to, that could come with some hurt feelings and some what's wrong, what's up with her, you know? Yes. And that could kind of shake up some relationships. So, I mean, I think in anything, as you grow, you have to be comfortable, like knowing that everybody is not going to grow with you.
Right. and growth is being uncomfortable.
It's everything
you're
about
moving to a new level of yourself and you're speaking to a new level of yourself. It's going to be uncomfortable because some people that you thought were there for you are going to be like, nah, that ain't my move. Okay, fine, but that's my move. And you keep it moving because at the next level, there's going to be other people that come along in your life that God will pour into you that's going to nurture, help that new person that you're going to.
Say that.
So don't forget that. That's one thing I had to learn, that God will always embrace. He's never leaving you alone. So he always will embrace where you at and where you're going to. So if you're dropping off people, believe me, it's other people coming to fulfill that's fulfilling, that's bringing something new to that table.
Yep.
So,
and some people are seasonal, and
you got no difference.
And sometimes we hold on to people, and we get those boundaries crossed, or we get feelings hurt, or that feeling of resentment because we're carrying on some people that can't grow with us, and it's a hard truth to accept.
That they not supposed to be in.
Yep.
Sometimes it's like let it go. Like the song.
Let it go. So that was soft and porous boundary. So another type of boundary that you might find yourself being in is having strict boundaries that prevent others from getting close. I know I know I have historically had very rigid boundaries. Just I think sometimes when you've had those traumas or you've had those hurts, you kind of can build up a wall. And for me, God actually told me, you have to allow me to show who can come in and who can come out of your life, because those same walls that keep the dangerous people out, or the people that you think can hurt you, are the same walls that are going to stop the blessings and the people that I do want in your space. So you have to allow me to filter that in.
Yes, that's why I tell people, you can't go through life not need nobody, because God sends blessings to people. So you have to be a little open to knowing when it's a blessing from God and when it's not. So I always tell people keep that ear open, keep that one ear open, listening, and them eyes, to see through what people are passionately seeing for you, because sometimes people speak life into you before you even see that life for you, and you looking at them like,
what's up with you? Right.
You see me being on TV. I don't even like people. And you ain't even seen that they already seen something in you that God has spoke to them to speak to you. And then before you know it, 2 years later, you stand here in front of the camera. You like, well, shoot, they didn't know what they was talking about. You'd be surprised what blessings come. And, yes, we have to have boundaries set so that the people that we don't want, but we definitely can't be so rigid that we don't feel the compassion of when people are truly there for us and truly a blessing.
Right.
You don't want to be the person that miss blessings because you're so shut door.
Yep.
Like shut door, nope, shut door, nope. Don't want to hear what you guys say. Shut door, nope. Because everybody's not gonna come in your life wanting you. Some people want to give, some people want to help, some people want to balance you out. So you have to look for those people.
And I think all of this stuff comes with work. It's not an overnight process, especially if you have built yourself to be that rigid person. It's number one, I always say go before the throne of God. Pray for discernment. God, who do you want to be in my space or out of my space? Because my physical eyes and what I think can lead me wrong.
Can be wrong. Yes, because you can think a person, you hear a whole nother type of person, we talk about the same
where did
person.
you come from?
We talk about the same person because this person ain't never did this, but on the other end, they live in a whole different life, and so you definitely have to really pray to God that He shows you those other sides of people or your higher power. I'm not gonna say God because everybody has their different higher power, but you definitely have to pray to the higher power of who you believe in to figure out their connections and boundaries, because you can't do it alone. You can't do life alone. Life was not meant for us to do it.
So other characteristics of rigid boundary setters are people who avoid intimate and close relationships, people who have few close friendships. I think that could be a little bit, because as you get older, you people fall off. So I don't know if that's 100%. But if you really find yourself not having anybody, maybe even introspect, is it me? Do I push people away?
Right.
These people may also be very protective of personal information, may seem detached, keep others at a distance to avoid the possibility of rejection, and no access will be permitted. So an example of this is a visual is a home with walls surrounding the property, and walls protect and isolate with locked gates. Can't nobody
come in here. You unlock the gate.
So another boundary type of person are people who have spongy boundaries. So this is a combination of soft and rigid boundaries. So these people are a little bit unclear about who to let in and who to keep out.
And
they could be very inconsistent in, you know, how they engage in relationships, and it could be kind of confusing with those people. So those might be some people like who have been hurt in the past and who still want relationships but don't know how. So then when stuff might be going okay, then they shut down a little bit, and it's just like
push you away.
They push you away.
Shoot, you go in my business too much, but they allow you so much. They allow you so much, and you think you're helping. They're like, oh no, and those people are like the hardest to deal with. So I always tell myself when I'm in the space with people like that, I let them engage first, so that I'm not pushing them to engage or to come out and discuss or whatever. So if they engage with me, then I know, oh, okay, I can talk to them because they're in that talking mode, where those people can, at times pull away and not want no engagement. So if they're in that quiet space, stay quiet.
So the healthy boundaries that is everybody's aim in the space that everybody wants to be in are also flexible boundaries, if you might see in the literature. You are in control of your behaviors. You can communicate to people what it is that you need. You value your own opinions, I think, or your own feelings, or what you're feeling internally. Honor those things and don't push those things to the side. Might share personal information in appropriate ways. You don't over or undershare. You're aware of your personal wants and needs and can communicate them. The big one, you have an ability to say no when you need to, and you can change if the situation calls for it. I think the saying no has been a big boundary setting, game changing self-care strategy for me. Because, it wasn't always it's a saying no to family that can get tricky, or people that you really do care for. I just found myself, especially in grad school, I was working full time, I was in school full time, and it just became a lot. And then you got family responsibilities, and at that time, people was getting in trouble with school, and you gotta go get them. And I just remember sitting in the car on my way to go get a kid from school, and I just broke down crying. Like, that was my moment.
No, I have to say no.
Like, forget this cape, forget this, I could do it all, forget it. Like, I'm done. I'm done. And like, you feel bad when it's people that you do love, and you do, like, we a unit, we got each other's back, but sometimes, like, I'm depleted, and I think because, like, especially when it's people that are strong, like, have strong characteristics, I see that you got it, and people don't realize, like,
still have a softer side. Yeah, we're human. We still have a softer side that needs tending to. We can make it look easy, but that don't mean we're like robots and don't have feelings of carrying all that stuff on our shoulders. Like, we have to release that at some. We have to have someone we can release that to, or some way to release that to. Like you said, be energized and bring that love and safety back to ourselves. So, and sometimes our family and friends don't get that. They constantly, oh, I need you. Like, my mom can call me and she can tell that I'm sleeping, but she still was like, well, let me ask you a quick question.
Right. Oh my gosh. No. Our mamas must be friends or something. Yeah. My mom does the same thing. And that's like, it's funny, but at the same time, it's a necessary boundary. Yes. Like, why would you keep talking and I told you I'm sleeping? You got my breath stink voice on still, like, and they like trying to have a conversation.
A full conversation about nothing. Or they'll call and ask you. You told them the day before what you doing. Call, what you doing? At work. Like, I told you I was going to be at work today. Like, Mom, did you not pick that up? But it's people that would constantly, and it's not just saying your mom, but it's people that would constantly test your boundaries. They're constantly going to test to see, are you saying they'll call her when she sleep, or don't come to her house? They're really going to test those boundaries, so you really have to make sure whatever you set as your boundary, you stick to it. Definitely until people respect it, and then you can relax it a little bit, for loved ones when you feel like it, not when they feel like you should, but when you feel like it. It's important too to be that person too that not only set boundaries for yourself, but respect other people's boundaries. And learning when you're overstepping your boundary and apologize. Sometimes we overstep our boundaries and don't realize we did. You say, you know what, I apologize. I spoke for you. I didn't give you a chance to speak for yourself. I apologize about that. And I'm learning how to do that with my kids because I talk for my kids a lot. Not because, I'm trying to overstep, but because I'm their mother and I'm like, when adults are talking sometimes and they're asking them questions, I'm like, hold on, should you ask my child or should you be asking me? So sometimes I'm just talking for them, but now I'm realizing my kids are at the age where they can speak for themselves. So sometimes I pause and give them a chance to speak. I do that with my daughter and my son now, and then if they give me the eye, then I know, they want me to talk for them. So I'm learning that with my two oldest kids, that I don't have to speak for them a lot because they're at the age where they themselves. And that's one thing, learning boundaries, and that's within your family. You have to learn how to associate. Just because they're your child doesn't mean they don't have their own thoughts and feelings for themselves and their own what feels good to them and not feel good. When your kids say, you're embarrassing me, you listen to that. Listen to what they mean or ask, why is that embarrassing you? Because some things that you feel is okay, it's not okay in their age group, or they may not understand why you're doing it. So sometimes just having that conversation. I definitely once they reach that teenage level, they are at the age you really have to start having more conversation over being the I know all and you know nothing type of approach, because you won't get the best of the relationship doing it that way. So
I think that's a different mindset in parenting. That's different than the generation before us. Yes. But I think definitely in the millennials and how we look at parenting, like we have kind of made that shift and like honoring how our kids feel a little bit more and modeling it. Like modeling, if I'm setting boundaries, then I want you to set boundaries. Yes. And sometimes it's even gonna be you setting boundaries with me.
Yes. And then sometimes it hurt, when your kids telling you the truth, but it's something that you have to sit in, marinate, process, and say, okay, how can I be better at this? Because my child obviously don't like when I'm approaching them this way. Just like if you only like something that your child is doing, how are you going about correcting behavior? How are you about discussing how they can correct the behavior and how y'all move forward? So it's not all about hitting and popping and telling your child that they're wrong all the time, but also seeing why they think they were right. Because the mindsets are different and they're going through different stages. So some things that they're seeing, you're not seeing, or some things that you're seeing, they're not seeing. So sometimes you have to expose them to why you're taking the approach of giving them a curfew time, approach of staying when they can hang out or not hang out. Sometimes kids are like, why, it's just this, and they don't understand that just this, so many things can go wrong. But as a mother, as a parent, because you've been there, done that. You've seen how things small can turn into big things, and so you're gonna be protective of your child, but you also have to learn, like this, a boundary setting, when to let go and allow your child to make a decision for themselves, not making good decisions. That's when you step in as a parent, but not always saying, I know everything, you don't. Because what it tells that child is that their feelings and their thoughts are not important. So why would they discuss them?
Right.
I've run into a lot of teenagers like that. They don't talk to their parents. They talk to every adult but their parent. Because their parent has the mindset, I know all, you don't know anything, you listen to me, I'm the adult, and that's it. So that child feels like they don't have a voice. Once your voice is taken, that's like your freedom. That's like your stealth. Like, somebody told you couldn't never speak for you, what would that make you? That's what a lot of teenagers go through day to day, because their parents are saying, you don't have a right to say how you think, and have to change that mindset if you want to raise great self-care, self-aware young adults that know how to stand up in their own stuff, learn how to speak up for themselves. You can't speak up for not even now they're at home.
I think it's so, like, it has to start at home in order to be able to set those boundaries, especially with a generation of people in the age group where peer pressure is so rampant, and they might step out and do stuff that's not them just because their friends are doing it. Yeah. So being able for them to like learn that, like, it's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to still be cool and be popular, and not go do what they doing. Yes.
I told my friends a lot of times, no, I'm not getting in trouble for that. I know my mom, so
it's like I be mad at right. So I think
I'll be right here when y'all get back. But I at a young age, I was like very mature, and I seen things, or I just do like I'm not doing. Like I would instantly say no to a lot of things. Smoking, I was never into those things. I was like, maybe I am the weird one, because I'm like, I was never into those things. But that's what a lot of people gravitate towards, because they like, you're different. You don't want to be like everyone like that. That's what I, teach my kids. Okay, like, it's okay not to want to have to drink as a teenager, because you got all your life to do all those things. There's no rush in this game. Live, take your time and enjoy being a kid. Enjoy the kid thing. Because I'm like, you so busy trying to be an adult, you forget the enjoyment of being a kid, of being young, and not having no worry. Not having to worry about when your next meal gonna come, clothing, all those things that once you become an adult, you gotta worry about.
Go chill, y'all. Right. Go have fun. So some overall tips for healthy boundary setting is, one of them is knowing your limits before becoming involved in a situation. Know what's acceptable to you and what isn't. Period.
And knowing your limits is definitely important. So if somebody asks you to go to a party, so process what going to a party is going to look like. If you're driving, they're driving, how you getting back home, all those things you have to think about, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. So if get at parties, you tend to overdrink, you may want to say, nah, I'm fine, I'm good. Or you may say, I have 2 drinks and I'm going to have to leave. You have to, like you said, know before you go into the situation what's going on, and have to set your boundaries for you. Because sometimes people will push and forget all about your boundaries, but you have to remember. So that's it.
And being specific in what your limits are. Like, this is what it is. Yeah. It's non-negotiable.
Like, I'm not riding in the car with somebody that's been drinking. Some people get offended by that. Well, I only have... Okay, but that one drink clouds your judgment, and that's my life. Period. So that's your job. You have a right to tell people no.
Another one is knowing your values. So, like we said, every person's limits are different. So you have to define what is your value, what you gonna live by for yourself.
Yeah.
Even outside of what somebody else is gonna do, and being okay with going against the crowd if your values and your limits are different than what theirs are. Like, I'm still gonna stick to, all right, well, y'all go ahead and do that, but
but it's me, like, so don't shove your boundaries just because it's not fitting your group of friends, whoever you with at the time. Try not to do that, because then you're teaching them that, her boundaries only important when she wants them to be.
Right.
So you don't want that. You don't want to send that message.
Right. You want to stick to them. I mean, like, you don't want to be rigid and like, this is what it is. This is what it, every time. But like, you should be able to assess the situations. Like,
see if you should be flexible.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't never get nobody my Oreos, and now somebody asks you for your Oreos. Like, of course you could be like, yeah, here Oreo, but drinking and driving, that's a whole nother situation.
Yes.
So like, really assessing the situation, and is it something that I need to really be firm in my values?
Yes.
Another thing is listening to your emotions. So if you get that inner feeling you uncomfortable, or if you feeling resentment for something that you said yes to, like, maybe, like, am I not setting healthy boundaries? Like,
right.
So check in with how you feel.
Yes, check in with those emotional feelings. That's so important. Sometimes we are conditioned to not check in emotionally, or we forget that emotions set a tone for our body language and everything. Even if you tell somebody, like, I'm alright, your body language is already telling somebody that you're not alright. That you're already asking, okay, are you fine? So, if it's something in your chest, just get it out and say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with what y'all doing right here. This is out of my comfort zone. So speak up. Speaking up is very important, and being emotionally in contact with who you are is very important. I know sometimes growing up, definitely in the Black community, we are told can't feel emotionally, or emotionally is weak, but emotions are strong and they're healthy, and you need to speak up, whether it's a good mood, a bad mood. You need to embody that and process and speak up what that's making, what it's feeling, and what it's giving you, your body, physically, emotionally. So.
So, I mean, I think that ties into the next one is having self-respect. Like, all of those things, doing all of those things, having these boundaries, taking self-care, like, it is showing yourself respect and love and compassion. Like, and that same compassion that we're willing to give everybody else, we need to have for ourselves.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't understand when you say that. Sometimes people look at that as like a negative thing. Like, what you mean I'm disrespecting you? And is you're going against something that I'm telling you I value. You're not respecting. So that's what I mean. Not that making me feel like I want to fight you or smack you or anything like that. That it's different levels of disrespect, but it's a sense of disrespect when you're not respecting who I am and what I bring to the table. That's what I mean. So sometimes people just gotta understand disrespect is not a sense of necessary um negative, but it's also the positive reflection of audio gainer. Making sure people understand.
Right, and I think that ties into the next point, which is being assertive, like communicating assertively and saying what you said. I said what I said. Yeah. Like, I mean, it can be, you can be respectful of others. Like, I know the kids now like to use the lingo like respectfully, but they say something disrespectful.
Right.
Like, but no, like seriously, you can say what you gotta say with respect, but it is what it is. Like, no. And no, y'all, is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself.
Exactly.
Like, if somebody call you, you ain't got to come up with a fake excuse to get off the phone. Like, I need to get off the phone. Like, so, I mean, if you just communicate assertively and be unapologetic in how you feel and what it is, and if you don't want to explain yourself, you don't have to.
Yes, of course. Like, don't think like, oh, well, once I say no, I have to say this. And believe me, when I first started learning, practicing the word no a lot, I was feeling like that a lot of times. Explain why I said no. So I just got to a point where they're like, I ain't explaining nothing. Now, if they ask me why can't I do it, I can say, hey, because I got XYZ, or I have other. Sometimes I say I got other things to do. I have other things to do at that time and don't meet my schedule. So sometimes I have said it like that, and that helps a whole lot. Me feeling guilty and feeling like, well, I just said no because I just don't feel like getting out the house. And I literally have to learn how to say that. No, I'm tired. I'm chilling. My house is authentic, it's real, and it's my answer.
So self-care is super important to your mind, your body, your soul. It helps you live authentically. And a great piece of self-care that you can start implementing is this healthy boundary setting. So we want to know how you guys are doing in self-care in general, and where do you guys think that you are on this spectrum of boundary setting? Is it something that you're doing good at, or is it something that you still need to work towards? Let us know in the comments if you are on YouTube, or hit me up at shadesofbrownllc@gmail.com and let me know how you're doing with that. So thank you again, Dewana, for coming. Can you tell them where they can find you and empower you?
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook. My group is called Empower You, or you can I have a short link like hers, but I have a I have a tree link on my page too, that you can go to, and it's Empower You, and it connects you to either you can book a free call if you think you would like life coaching, or you would like some help with setting boundaries. I do offer a free 30-minute clarity call. I also do sell merchandise, Empower You merchandise. I'm not wearing it today, but it's on my page, our regular page, Dewana Duncan. And then I have a store, so if you want to go online and shop at my store, feel free, or you can share it for other people to buy.
Yes, absolutely. And share. Have a good day. Hey, Coils and Cocoa Butters fam. Do me a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it if it has blessed you, if you've learned something from it, or you really think a family or friend could benefit from the dialogue. Also, head on over to Shades of Brown's newest website, www.lovingmyshadesofbrown.com, where you'll be updated on the newest events that we got coming up, where you'll be able to buy merchandise at the Hope at Midnight store, and you'll also meet the visionaries behind the mission of uplifting the kingdom and promoting the culture.